I don't know why that doesn't want to work on this steel. So we'll just cut it out instead. The more material you can take out with your hacksaw, the quicker things will go. But just be careful, your hacksaw takes material out much faster. So it's easier to make the joint deeper than you need it to be. And there we go. The very first thing to do is to do the layout work on the piece of brass. And the brass, you can mark brass without putting any kind of a die on it, but it's just easier to follow the lines. It just makes things simpler. You can't use a pencil. The marks that we're following are much finer than that, and so it's just easier to use a little layout blue so that you can have some contrast. And I use a marking gauge. I use a lot of woodworking tools. I know that this steel is 3/16 of an inch thick, that I like about a 1/16 of an inch of extra material on the outside. So I'm going to set my marking gauge to 1/4 of an inch. There. And Mark that line. Mark the other side. That's the depth that we'll end up cutting to. One of the things to remember is that the deeper you scribe these lines, the more sanding you have to do. When you're making a dovetail for a drawer, you might not sand out the scribe mark. You might leave it as part of the witness to it being handmade. But with planes, you want to be able to clean up the sides. So try not to scribe your lines too deep. And the next thing I'm going to do is set this down kind of flush with the jaws of my vise. And which side is my top? Lay this on here. I don't know how well you can see those. I've kind of scratched the top up a little bit, but they're on there. And I hope this process looks familiar to the woodworkers out there. I hope this process looks familiar to the people that are hand cutting dovetails, because up to this point it is. It is the same way that my dad taught me how to do dovetails, how to make them and lay them out. Okay, so I have all the lines scribed on there. There have been a few times that I've removed the wrong material, and so it's always a good idea, at least for me, to mark the material that will be removed just with a scribble. So we're just going to remove the waste on the brass.